we've got a few more signings to dive into.
This offense continues to evolve as the season goes on.
Welcome into Bucs Insider, presented by Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook. Casey Phillips here with Scott Smith and Brianna Dix. We got another win to talk about going into the bye week. It just doesn't get better than that. A division win going into the bye week is, and to have the record they have, I feel like vibes are high. And
we said going into that game that 6-2 and 5-3 are pretty much almost the same. In either case, you'd be well set up for the second half of the season. But 6-2 would feel. We said before the game,
yes,
but so much better than 5-3 and a 2-game losing streak.
I agree.
And thoughts of that midseason lull from the last couple of years. So this feels great to be where we are right now.
It does, and we've done it despite so many injuries, just so many of them. So, of course, the bye week, we every year say, what a good timing for it, because there's always injuries in football, and we always feel like it's good timing. But man, does it feel like good timing right now. So what do we feel like what have we learned about who's injured, who maybe has a chance at coming back, what we might know?
I feel like any week from week 3 on would have worked as a good week for our bye. But here it is, and we need it. Coach Bowles said we need this more than anybody, which there's probably some teams out there that would argue with that, but definitely high on the list. And the first thing you're thinking about is how much closer does this get some of the guys we've been waiting on to returning? And we're talking about Luke Gedeke at right tackle. We're talking about Chris Godwin. We're talking about Bucky Irving, Luke Haggard. We've started 5 different guys at right guard. Hassan Reddick. I mean, there's a lot of guys that they might not necessarily be back for New England right after the break, but we're hoping they're closer and they come back somewhere in that 3-game span. That's pretty tough coming right out of the break. So, and then you got a lot of guys. I think it's just as important for the guys who are playing through injuries, like Levante David and Baker Mayfield, for goodness sake. He's probably going to feel a lot better after this. Emeka Abuka, Christian Izian, and then Jacob Parrish just got hurt in this last game. So, those guys, if they're feeling better, that's just going to keep, the defense and they're both just going to start getting better and better. So.
Yeah, I think that there's always the guys that benefit because they're injured, and then bye weeks are almost even better for the guys that are hurt as compared to injured.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so also things are going well when there's Player of the Week awards. That's when things are on the right trajectory, and we got a couple of them.
So Anthony Nelson and Chase McLaughlin were both given NFC Player of the Week awards. It was the first for Anthony Nelson, the second for Chase McLaughlin, but man, what an incredible game. Both of them had Anthony Nelson with the pick 6 and just an incredible stat line that we'll kind of get into a little bit later. And then Chase McLaughlin hit 3 field goals from over 50 yards. So just incredible, well-deserved games.
And not a common thing to get 2 guys in the same week.
No.
It's the first time this has happened for the Buccaneers since 2008.
Wow.
And that was Derek Brooks was still playing. Derek Brooks and Matt Bryant.
That's crazy.
So a lot of Bucs fans will probably also remember the Philadelphia game in 2006 when Matt Bryant hit the 62-yard game winner. He won Special Teams Player of the Week, and nobody remembers that Rondé Barber had 2 pick 6s in that game.
Oh my God.
He still complains about that now.
Yeah, he's like, wait a minute.
Matt Bryant got
Where's
a key to the city,
Yeah.
and nobody remembers Rondé Barber had 2 pick 6s and 1 Defensive Player of the Week.
That's hilarious. Well, let's get into some of those notes from the Saints game. Let's start on the offensive side of things, and we know that there's one player in particular who enjoys playing in New Orleans. It seems.
Yes, Sean Tucker. So 3 of his 5 career touchdowns have come in the Dome, but also the Bucs are 4-0 when he scores a touchdown. He had a 1-yard touchdown rush in the second half. But also I think it was just after the Bucs have kind of been forced to be one-dimensional against the Lions, where Baker Mayfield threw 50 times, the Bucs were able to come out, be a little bit more balanced on offense, and then Sean Tucker getting the touchdown and kind of showcasing his ability to navigate rush lanes and then his balance through contact.
I think it's so interesting to watch just the way that the Bucs have done next man up so well. And it's one thing to say that, it's another to do it. But it doesn't always mean that it's next man up the exact same way as that first man was doing it. And I do think we've seen that it can change a few things about the way the team is playing, Scott, especially from like an offensive side of things, of just the types of plays that we're seeing in terms of things like explosive plays, that they're getting it done, but it may not look quite the same.
First of all, we need to give Sean Tucker the ball near the goal line all the time because we're 4-0 when he scores a touchdown.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, but yeah, it's wonderful what the Bucs are doing, and they won that game by 20 points. Obviously, special teams and defense led the way, but it's starting to show up. All these injuries, it's just not the same sort of offense that the Bucs had in the first 6 games, and hopefully we'll be back when guys start to come back. And Baker's doing what he can, and he's also playing through injuries. But the Bucs had 40 what we call big plays, passes of 20-plus yards and runs of 10-plus yards. They had 40 of those through their first 6 games, which is close to 7 a game. We've had 6 in the 2 games since, and the longest is 30, and that's like 3 a game. So less than half of the explosive plays that this team was getting. And Baker is among the league leaders in downfield completions, but not the last couple weeks. And so hopefully we get back to that. It's impressive what they've been able to do regardless.
For sure. And then I know, for me, I wanted to highlight Chase McLaughlin a little more. I know we kind of talked about him as a player of the week, but in terms of your offense, and especially again when you are facing so many injuries, to know that thanks to those lovely kickoff rules, you're already pretty far down the field, and then you have a guy like Chase, and you're practically already in field goal range. And how amazing that is for being able to know you are going to be able to get 3 so often. You always want 7. But man, it is so nice to know, and how many of these last-second drives and where you're really trying to move the ball down the field. And it's just amazing that again, we talked about 3 50-plus yard field goals in the game, which means he's 8 for 8 this season.
Yeah, most in the league.
And 40 of 47 in his career.
That's ridiculous.
He is the only player.
Those numbers aren't real.
They're insane. They're insane. And then he's the only player this season with 3 or more 50-plus yard field goals in a single game. And I just think that it's got to give the offense such a boost to feel like you're going to work so hard to get there, and you're bummed if you don't get 7, but at least you know you got Money McLaughlin behind you, and it's just cool to see.
If you just took Chase's success rate from 50 and beyond, he'd be the best kicker in team history. He'd have the best success rate.
Wow.
Field
Probably
goal
one of the
percentage.
best
Just
in
on
league
50
history,
plus.
too.
Well, he's second in league history to Brandon Aubrey, the Dallas
That's
kicker,
incredible.
and he has about twice as many attempts as Brandon.
Right.
But that's not taking anything away from Brandon Aubrey, who's ridiculous. But in any case, you said the way the kickoff rules changed in the game, but also the Buccaneers, that's complimentary football in the last game, because all 3 of those field goal drives were very short drives after like turnovers on downs or turnovers.
Yep, very true. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to have more to discuss about the Saints game on the defensive side of things and looking ahead to this bye week on some big picture takeaways. We'll be right back. Welcome into Bucs Insider. Casey Phillips, Scott Smith, and Bree Dix here for you. So we talked about the offensive takeaways in that first segment. Now we're going to get into those defensive takeaways from the game, which I'm imagining I know where we're going to start on that front.
Anthony Nelson. So he became the first player since 2007 to record 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a pick 6. And what a starting debut. Yeah, in the same game. What a starting debut in 2025. The interception play in particular, my gosh, deflects Spencer Rattler's pass, tips it to himself, returns it 3 yards, and then in the process lowers his shoulder.
Oh, the highlight cutaway
Rattler
right at the moment.
To cross the goal line.
Kaboom.
Gosh.
Yeah, get off me.
Get off
But
me.
he's in, the coaches have called him Steady Eddie for years, but also just seeing he has the ability to make those game-shifting plays, and he did it again against the Saints. Absolutely just wreaked havoc at the line of scrimmage, and just exciting to see kind of him spearheading that defensive effort.
Yeah, and it's funny to me that you would think, based on Antoine Woodfield's game, he would have been who we would have been talking about.
Right.
He would have been who we talked about maybe for Player of the Week awards, only because Anthony Nelson had just a freak of a game.
Yes.
Did we not start with Antoine? So I did want to give him his flowers when maybe a few flowers got taken away during the game. And so wanted to make sure we highlight him. So, of course, he had the interception and the fumble recovery. I don't know if we're
2
people
trips
that
to the end zone.
can get fined or not. I'll just say he ended up in the end zone a couple
He
times.
ran to the end zone twice.
It didn't count, but
And people were chasing him.
they were. People were chasing him. Everybody was chasing him. So we're going to say 2 almost touchdowns. I wish that was a thing that could count for Pro Bowl and Hall of Fame considerations. But his 2 takeaways in Week 8 are tied for the most by any NFL player in a single game this season, and they're the most by a Bucs player since he had 2 of them back at the very end of 2023. And I think this stat is very cool. So dating back to when these stats became available in 2000, Antoine Winfield Jr. is just the 12th defensive back with at least 10 career forced fumbles and fumble recoveries. All 11 other players on that list have played at least 116 career games, and Antoine has done it in 76.
Wow.
The guy knows how to be the impact play guy. He is the ball hawk. He is, whether it's interceptions, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, this is the guy who in big moments somehow ends up with the football.
2023.
Whether or not they all count. But really just thought we needed to highlight how unbelievable his game was, the impact plays, and just I think that was one of his best, if not his best games as a Buck, potentially, if you look at all of it. So, and then I know other DBs had to do a little bit little bit of moving around, little
Yeah.
moving and shaking. Not unusual for the way this has gone this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure that if everyone picked up on this, but after Jacob Parrish left the game with his oblique injury, we didn't put like Christian Izien in the slot. We wanted to get Benjamin Morrison on the field anyway. We're trying to find ways to do that. So we moved Zion McCollum into the slot and then put in Benjamin Morrison as the other outside cornerback. And it's just and he had, I think, 6 tackles and 2 passes defensed in the game, Zion did. And it's just underscoring how much this coaching staff has worked in the last few years to try to make a lot of these guys very versatile.
Yeah.
So they actually specifically worked on Zion in the slot in training camp and throughout the offseason, just because at the time the idea was, if you go against a team like Atlanta with Drake London, who they like to put in the slot a lot, maybe we have this option of putting our bigger cornerback in the slot, so there's not a size disadvantage there. But now it just comes into play as an opportunity when Jacob Parrish goes down, like, well, this is something we got in the bag. We could put Zion in the slot and he can handle it just fine. And we like what Benjamin Morrison is doing on the outside. So I just thought it underscored how much they try to keep guys like Christian Izien and Benjamin Morrison and Zion McCollum and Jacob Parrish as versatile as possible.
Yeah, and it shows how important it is to draft guys can do that. That even if one guy is going to be most talented in one area, man, you really like it if he can play more than one, because you just know at some point in the season you're going to have to be called upon to do something else potentially. And they've turned into a really exciting group of DBs back there. We're going to take another break, and we come back, we're going to look at the big picture overview of this first half of the season and some of the takeaways we have. So we'll be back then. Welcome back into Bucs Insider. Casey Phillips, Scott Smith, and Bree Dix here, and it's really convenient when the bye week falls at basically the exact halfay point.
Pretty
There
close,
there isn't an exact halfway point
an
anymore,
18-game
thanks to
season.
until they get to that 18 point. That there's like, man, this is as close as it gets, and we saw that when the schedule came out, and we thought, man, how nice that dang near dead center to have that bye, which of course means it's a perfect time to do some reviewing the same way a team would do with self-scouting, taking a look back. And so we thought we'd go into some of our just big picture takeaways from this first half of the season. And I just wanted to talk about our defense overall, and especially some statistical areas, looking mainly at things like sacks and takeaways, because I mean, let's be honest, those are two of the biggest indicators in a lot of ways for how you're going to do. And Coach Bowles had really emphasized both of those, but especially the takeaways in the offseason. So I found some stats. I thought this was crazy. Our defense is top 3 in the league in all these things that I am about to say. Defensive touchdowns, tackles for loss, strip sacks, quarterback pressures, takeaways, and fumble recoveries. There's a bunch of other stats that are like stats that they're top 5, top 6, but those are all just top 3.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And then they've now had 5 games with multiple takeaways. That's the one that I think makes Todd the happiest, which is the most in the NFL, to have multiple takeaways for that many games. And then this last game, 5 sacks, which means 15 sacks over the last 3 games, which is tied for the most over any 3-game stretch in the last 25 years.
That one blows my mind.
Wow.
I'm surprised by that.
25
I read the same thing like that. Wow.
I double checked it myself. I was like,
ya?
did I read this right? Did I understand this correctly? Yes, in 25 years. So I just love the idea of, and it's all different people.
Yeah.
That's correct.
The sacks are coming from not only your edge guys and a defensive lineman here and there, your DBs all over the place. The takeaways are coming from all over the place, whether they be forced fumbles, whether they be interceptions. I mean, it's just incredible watching how many people have participated, how high a level this defense is playing. And again, like the offense has gone through a lot of injuries. You're doing it without Kalijah Kancey. This last game you were without Hassan Reddick. There's been any number of DBs out here and there during the season. And I just found all those stats to be so encouraging for what it says about this unit throughout the rest of the season. And so I know also we got to talk about Baker Mayfield, right? That if we want to talk about big picture takeaways, you got to talk about QB.
If you're going to tell the story of the first half of the Buccaneers 2025 season, you can't do it without talking about the fact that Baker Mayfield has emerged as a legitimate MVP candidate. Now, you look at his 3 years here. The first year was a revelation. It was his big rejuvenation season after he'd become a bit of a journeyman for about a year. Right. He had great stats that year, and he got the big new contract, well-deserved. And then the next year, 2024, was quite a bit better and probably should have merited more than down-ballot MVP consideration. But I didn't hear much of that buzz in 2024, even though I think he was one of 2 quarterbacks that had at least 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns. whatever. This year, the difference is not only is he putting up numbers, and he's doing so with a really banged up cast, but it's the clutch plays. You know, you're watching these highlights here. There's a lot of them. There's the runs. You know, there's the run on 4th down in Houston. There's the run against San Francisco, which had the crowd chanting MVP. It's just it's the evolution of Baker as the Bucs quarterback. The story just keeps getting better and better, and I just don't think there's a bigger takeaway from the first half of the season than that Baker Mayfield has emerged as a legitimate MVP candidate. So
yeah,
I think
I
that's
completely
more the
agree.
highlight.
And I can't wait to watch what that looks like the rest of the season, depending on who is available to come
Yeah.
back. And again, yeah, like you put it, MVP caliber season with just all sorts of missing people at both the O-line and the receivers and running back and everything. So truly incredible. And speaking of that, the draft class has played a very big role in all these injuries and people stepping up and making really important moves on both sides of the ball.
For me, it's entering the bye week 6-2, despite all of these injuries to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Bucky Irving, Cody Mauch, Luke Gedeke, David Walker. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I don't think you can say enough about this coaching staff's ability to maximize personnel, who we have in the game, getting the rookies up to speed, but also just our scouting department, what they did leading into the draft with Emeka Egbuka, with Jacob Parrish, with Tez Johnson, and then seeing Emeka right now is in the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year, rightfully so, with his ability to manipulate coverage, still get separation despite people double-teaming him now with Mike Evans out, and then also how Jacob Parrish has really kind of taken ownership of that nickel corner role, but it isn't just his ability to swarm receivers. He's also plays really well against the run, wrap-up tackler, and then Tez Johnson's just electric with the ball in his hands and kind of added a little bit of a different dimension in the Bucs offense.
All right, well, we're going to take one more break. We'll be back with some of Scott's nerdy numbers here in a minute. Welcome back to Bucs Insider. Casey Phillips, Scott Smith, and Bree Dix. Time for our final segment. We're going to talk about some NextGen stats. What do we got this week?
Yeah, they've been giving us some good notes the last few weeks. This one, mostly it's been about Baker, but there's that dumb graphic again.
It's never going away. You more upset you are about it, the more
really upset.
The more you bring that up, the longer it will
Let's
be
go
a thing.
nerds.
Yeah. Yes.
Up with nerds.
Emeka said his favorite Halloween candy is Nerd Clusters. So this is who we should get to sponsor this segment.
Sponsored by Nerds.
Sponsored by Nerds.
This is the one I was looking at. The Buccaneers played single high safety coverage on 24 dropbacks. That's a lot. That's a lot of that. And they did very good in those, as you see from the numbers there. And I think what's important there is I think Todd would really like to operate in that kind of look as much as possible, because it allows I think it allows you to play a lot more aggressive style of defense, and we know that that's what he likes to do is be aggressive. But also, think about it. If we're saying single high safety, that means one of Antoine or Ty Key is back there, and both of them can do it and they interchange. One of them is up close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And look at some of the plays that they've been making. Like Antoine Winfield's interception was pretty close to the line of scrimmage. He wouldn't have made that play if they're playing, cover two back there, right? So just the fact that they can succeed while playing single high safety, I think, is the important takeaway here, because I think that's what Todd Bowles would like to do as much as possible, and they certainly made it work in New Orleans.
Yeah, that they did. Well, before we get going, we wanted to make sure everybody knew that applications are now being accepted for the 2026 Tampa Bay Buccaneers National Coaching Academy. The Glazer family created the academy as part of their commitment to helping develop leaders both on and off the field. It was established to create new pathways for coaches seeking the opportunity to work in the National Football League, because you always hear it's about who you know, right? So 25 finalists are selected to participate in team meetings, on-field coaching sessions during rookie minicamp. Finalists also get to participate in masterclass sessions. I've been in them. They're incredible. Yeah. Led by head coach Todd Bowles, general manager Jason Light, as well as people like John Gruden, Bruce Arians, Tony Dungy, Rondé Barber. I mean, you're going to learn everything you ever needed to know about football, I can guarantee you. So there's more programming, like sessions focused on things like film review and breakdowns and media training, business insights, interactive networking opportunities. It's amazing. So if you want to know more, Buccaneers.com/National Coaching Academy. Make sure you or whoever whoever else you know gets in those applications. It's truly an amazing program, and I just think it's such an amazing thing the Glazer family and the Buccaneers have done. Honored to be a part of it every year. So wanted to give that information as soon as possible. Thanks for being with us this week. We'll see you next time.